May be seated. Shabbat Shalom. Chodesh Tov. Some of you may have seen that Eli Sharabi, a hostage that was returned to Israel after 491 days. It's been almost a month since he was returned. He gave an interview to Channel 12 of Israeli TV last night. I don't know if it was actually filmed last night, but it was broadcast last night. You may remember that he was one of the 3 men who were returned who came back like half his body weight. And he returned to Israel to the news that his wife and two teenage daughters had been murdered on October 7th. And his brother, Yossi, was also taken hostage and murdered in captivity. He spent most of his days with 3 other hostages, but he tells a story of during his time, I think it was about 50 days in, when they met 3 younger hostages in the tunnels, Hirsch Goldberg Poland, Almog Sarusi, and Ori Danino, who were the 3 men who were murdered in September. They were together in the tunnels for a handful of days, and he said that Hirsch said something to him that gave him strength and guided him for his entire captivity. And this is what Hirsch said. Kashayesh li ma tamid motzim et ha'ech. When there is a why or when there is a what, you will always find the how. When there is a why or there is a what, you will always find the how. In the world that we are living in, feels like we come here every week saying the same thing, because it's true. I think Rolly might have said that last week, no? We are living with such barbarity, such mendacity, such violence, such hatred and pain and vengeance. One could really lose the why or the what. What is it all for? Why are we working so hard? What do we have to look forward to? Is there a new story to tell? And I think part of the reason we come on Shabbat, at least one of the reasons I come on Shabbat, I mean, I know I'm supposed to be here, but one of the reasons we come on Shabbat is to remind us of the why. What is it that we believe in? What is it all for? What purpose are we working towards? We need a recharge. We need an uplift. We need a vision so that we can work on the how the rest of the 6 days of the week. And it's not only that we come this Shabbat, which is Shabbat, of course, Shabbat of Parashat Truma, but it's also Rosh Chodesh Adar, which we're hoping will bring some happiness in this heavy time. And so we come in this dual. Actually, there are 3 Torot taken out tomorrow for Shabbat. It's also Shabbat Shekalim. It's rare, actually, that there are 3 Torot come out. It's usually kind of possibility twice a year between Chanukah, Rosh Chodesh, and Shabbat and this time of year. Anyway, there's a beautiful teaching by the Slonomer Rabbi when Shabbat and Rosh Chodesh coincide, based on a verse in Yechezkel, which says, Ko amar Adonai, Adonai, Sha'ar ha'chatzer ha'pnimit ha'ponei kadim yihiyeh sagor shetet yemei ha'maaseh, uv'yom ha'shabbat yipateach uv'yom ha'chodesh yipateach. Thus says the sovereign God, the gate of the inner court that faces east shall be closed on the 6 working days. It shall be opened on the Shabbat, and it shall be opened on the day of the new moon. And from this verse, he teaches, of course, that there is a gate that gets opened on Shabbat that no other day can offer. And also there is a gate that gets opened on Rosh Chodesh that happens at no other time. And from this, he discerns that there are 2 ways of serving God, 2 gates. The gate of Shabbat is the heavenly gate. It is the awakening from above. You may have heard that. The hitorarut, the awakening from the mala, from the heavens, from the high up. And it's the way we serve God with all that is good, all that is divine, all that is beautiful and loving, and that we experience in the world that sparks us and teaches us that God is here. And sometimes in these days we forget that. We come to Shabbat to actually remind ourselves, wow, in the midst of all the news, actually there are beautiful things that happen. We have beautiful relationships. We have beautiful community. There's some little flowers starting to bloom in the park. There are good things happening in the world, and there's something divine that lives in the world that is the gate that the Slonimer says opens on Shabbat and comes to us to teach us that. And he says the gate of Rosh Chodesh is different. He says the gate of Rosh Chodesh is serving God in the choshech, in the darkness, because of course Rosh Chodesh falls when there's no moon in the sky. There's no sign of the light. And he says that Rosh Chodesh is when we can't see the light, but we long for it. We want it. We're searching for it. And that we have the chance to renew our desire for the light. And despite the darkness, to anticipate. Because we know with the new moon it's going to come, right? We know that the cycle of the moon is such that it's cyclical. That despite the darkness, we're going to wait for the light. We're going to work for the light, to anticipate it, and awaken our human capacity to move away from the darkness and search for the light. And he uses the notion of also moving away from evil. He says that Shabbat is, Rosh Chodesh is Sor Me'ra, take yourself away from the evil, Ve'aseh Tov, and do good is Shabbat. That's the verse he uses to prove that. And so spiritually, Shabbat is a reminder of these whys, it's a path of lifting us up to all that is divine in the world, to all that is good. And the Shabbat of Rosh Chodesh combines that with the fact that the moon is concealed, and the awakening in Rosh Chodesh in the darkness is awakening from below. That we have to wake up in the darkness, that we have to have some agency to push away the darkness and to long for the night, for the light. It will not, according to his teaching, rain down on us like Shabbat. Shabbat, according to the tradition, is declared from the heavens because it's based on God's pattern of creation. Rosh Chodesh is marked from below. The Sanhedrin actually used to mark the time of Rosh Chodesh. It's a human distinction. So we're living in this day, this particular Shabbat, with both gates are open. The inner gate to find the good, and the inner gate that in the darkness, which is not only physical darkness, but also spiritual darkness, to search. And he says, through both those gates, we have a sense of wholeness of serving God. And each has a purpose. And of course, the last element, what she doesn't teach about in this teaching, is that it is Shabbat Shekalim, the Shabbat that we'll read, the section of Ki Tisa, where it talks about that everyone, no matter poor or rich, has to give a half shekel to the building of the Mishkan, to teach us that all of us have a part to play in the fulfilling the commandment, V'asu li mikdash v'shachanti b'tokam. Make for me a sanctuary so I may dwell amongst them. That we all, no matter who we are, no matter whether we're here the first time, no matter that we come every Shabbat, no matter whether we grew up Jewish, no matter what we grew up sitting next to our parents in shul every Shabbat, no matter who we are, whether we're Christian or Jew, we, sitting in this kahal, this Shabbat, we all, or actually live streaming, we all have a part to play. We all have a part to play in making this sanctuary, which is, of course, not only a physical sanctuary, but a spiritual sanctuary of community. Kasheyesh li ma tamid motzim et ha'ech. When there is a why you will always know how to find the how. We are here this Shabbat to find the why. In the light, when we can see it, and in the darkness that often prevails. And each of us with our half shekel that have something to contribute. Let us not forget the why, the world we want to live in, one of freedom, one of justice and dignity, of truth, one of love and righteousness. And we are here for each other and with God present to remind us of that why. And together, that's what community is for, to find the how. Let us open those inner gates that Yechezkel speaks about. Let us wake up to the why. Let us walk together to find the how. And let us welcome this Shabbat bride on this very, very special Shabbat of 3 Torot that teaches us how to serve in all our fullness together.